an administrator's update for the month of April. I'm glad you guys could be here this afternoon with us. And just one last reminder to mute your microphones and your telephones. If you're on the telephone, please don't put us on hold. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start going through our slide deck. So first of all, we received a question here about Aviso. And Aviso has several different upgrades that they have done, especially when your college moves to self-service. And so there's additional charges in your contract. And so we received a question from one college asking if there's something that we could do at the system office to help align those contracts and to help pay for those funds. The problem is whenever those software solutions are purchased locally, that contract is local, and so then that responsibility lands and stays with the college. And there's not really much we can do at the system level right now. However, we have been on ongoing conversations at the system office probably for a couple of years now about because there are so many colleges that are using Aviso, is there a way that we could try to figure out how to kind of maximize the number of colleges. I know it's 40 plus at this point. Is there a way to maximize that purchasing power to get us a better contract rate? So that's been in conversations. I'm not going to promise anything, but I just want to let you know it is on our radar. The momentum has slowed a little bit, as many things did with COVID-19 and the pandemic. Lots of energy went in other directions. I know that J.J. Evans has worked with several colleges when it comes to this because of the Minority Male Success Initiative's partnership with Aviso. And then Michael Coleman also has some insights to this question and answer as well. So first, JJ, do you have any thing that you would like to share with the group that might be helpful?
Good afternoon, everyone. We hope everyone is safe. Yes, from what I understand, the transition really centers around approximately 4 to 5 hours of work if the institution is going to be updating its attendance taking as it relates to self-service. And so from what I gather in working with some institutions, I believe that invoice comes to under $5,000, I believe, on the high end for that type of work. And it really just depends on where the institution is in its transition to self-service and all of the sort of attendance modules that surround that. And of course, as we have been working with the institutions under MMFI, there are a number of budgets that can be used for that funding. So some have taken it out of technology fees or CARES or HER funding. I think it really just depends on how the institution wishes to cover that invoice for that payment.
Okay, thank you, Mondi. Michael, I think you had some additional insights from your college's perspective there at Haywood, right?
Yeah, so I was going to say, I've talked to some representatives from Aviso on several occasions about different things, and this is one of the things that was brought up. So I think that, per the question that was raised about not sure if schools are aware of this additional charge coming, I think, made it sound like it's required. It's not a required fee unless, to Dr. Evans' point, your school is switching over to self-service and doing attendance. And that's really only if you want Aviso to harbor that attendance. And so if you want that attendance to be present and visible in Aviso, then you would pay them to migrate your system from WebAdvisor to self-service. And that's only the case if that's what you want to happen. If you don't take attendance or you don't want it to show up and translate from one to another, you don't have to pay the fee. And really, it's for the work being done to actually, the man hours to actually do that. And another thing I'll say too, in regards to that is, we don't do this at Haywood necessarily, but keep in mind, Aviso does have an option where you could pay for a certain amount of hours or even unlimited hours in your contract, so that if you want updates to be done, or if you want new tags created, or whatever it is you want to be done, that's covered under that contract. So if institutions are thinking about this or wondering if they have to pay the fee, review your contract and see if you prepaid for hours already, and that could be encompassed in that already. So just to keep that in mind as well as you're thinking about this.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, JJ. And then Terry, I saw your note there in the chat box. Yes, it is on our radar to try to come up with something that would be more similar to the LMSs for Aviso, or those type of early alert systems. However, there's not a lot of momentum behind that right now, but it is on our radar. And I appreciate Michael and JJ, you guys sharing your insights into that as well. Before I move on, though, I will pause and see if we have any questions about this slide and about this topic. Anything in the chat box, or anybody who would like to unmute? Okay, I'm not seeing or hearing anything, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. We had two questions that came to us through the online form. The second question was, is there any specific updates for RISE for English and math for fall 2021 as far as placement is concerned, and as far as any of the content in the course? So Susan and Barbetta and I spoke earlier in preparation for today for you guys, and she said she would kind of answer that question as a part of her presentation today. So at this time, Susan, I'd like to hand you the mic, and you can share with us.
Great. Thanks, JW. So I guess you're controlling the slides there. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Okay, just a couple of updates on a few of the initiatives that the Student Success Center is involved in. One is the high school GPA for RISE does not expire for placement purposes. It is still a college decision if you choose to adhere to the 10-year expiration that was originally in place, but it does not expire. Since we're on RISE, we'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about that as well. Currently, Dr. Kelly Evans and Dr. Jonathan Loss are reviewing the data with the assistance of Bill Schneider and working on creating a narrative that will tell the story of the RISE data without having to really interpret all the complex work that Bill and his team have put together. Incorporated in that will be reviewing the, sorry, there's an echo here.
Yeah, 1 second, Susan. Just a reminder to mute your microphones or your telephones. That will help cut down on any feedback. Thank you.
Thanks. They are putting together some faculty teams that will reevaluate the current co-requisite courses, both their contact hours and credits and the content of the courses. But at this time, there are no additional changes to the co-requisite courses or the transition courses. Career and college ready graduates, pronounced surge. This is our high school initiative. What will happen at each college is when these students apply to your institution, each college will have a login into the EdReady platform, and that will allow you to retrieve data for students. We only can get data for students that have already applied to your institution. Right now, unfortunately, it'll be a pretty manual process. The test score information will be returned, and Sonia Bartley and her team are working on the workflow documents, but you will need to enter those test results into Colleague on the TSUM screen, and then all the appropriate requisites will be checked, and they'll be processed as any other student. So right now, again, a pretty manual process, but the workflow will be coming from Sonia and her team. Next slide, please. So there's one more of the Guided Pathways 100 series, the one on April 20th, which will allow your institution to take all of the information you've received since February and formulate one comprehensive plan for your institution. We've had over 50 of the 58 colleges participate in these workshops, different composition of team members, seemingly each time, which is great. And now we'll help everybody put it together with this April 20th meeting. And just as a reminder, if you submit your plan to the Student Success Center by the end of June And it doesn't need to be anything very elaborate, really just a short narrative or bullets about what you're planning on doing. Then your institution can have 1 hour of free consulting from a technical provider, whomever you deem appropriate. Next slide, please. I do want to just mention the Hope Center project. This was mentioned earlier this morning on the financial stability workshop that we shared with everyone. But the Hope Center just released a report, and I'll go ahead and put the address of the report in the chat after I'm done speaking. But they are offering an opportunity to the 17 colleges that were part of the Guided Pathways Cohort A. And if you're not sure if you are part of the Cohort A, please email me and I'll certainly help you out with that. But it's a year-long study that will series of meetings and webinars that will help your institution strengthen and intertwine the resources that you already have at your college, those that already exist. Some information that was shared today from the Hope Center was that there's a large percentage of students that don't even apply for certain benefits because they don't know they're available. So they'll be helping institutions. They estimate it's 25 hours worth of work from a college's perspective over an entire year. And all of the meetings are virtual. Even if we weren't in COVID, all of the meetings would be virtual, except if you want them to conduct a student focus group, then they will come and do that in person. So this opportunity is being provided by the Student Success Center, which is being provided by Jobs for the Future. And they estimate it to be about a $6,000 opportunity. So again, your colleges have been notified if you're part of them, and the deadline for applying is April 9th. And I think, yeah, this here is a link that you can use to find all of the remaining workshops for this semester, and we've begun to list some for the summer and the fall. So this will just take you to everything that's available where you can actually register at the same time. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, happy to help. As always, just shoot me an email. And as I said, I'll go ahead and put the link into the Hope Center report if you're interested in reading even just the highlights of it. It's pretty interesting. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. We do have one question in the chat box.
Sure.
And it reads, I thought that RISE placement with Surge was determined by their final grade, A, B, or C in the high school Surge class, but the RISE placement is going to be determined by their Ed-Ready test scores.
Right. So RISE placement for Surge is determined by the scores they received on the tier test. It's not by the grade they received in their high school class. It actually could be possible for a student to get a C or a D in their high school, let's say English 4 class, but have mastered both tiers in that Surge English course, and then they would be placed directly into English 111. Similarly, the converse could be true. A student could be getting an A in English an A in English 4 while they're in high school, but not have demonstrated mastery on the tier test. So at one point, a long time ago, there was some early conversations about tying the high school grade, but that wasn't something DPI was interested in pursuing. So we pivoted and are using their tier test scores.
All right, thank you, Susan. Any other questions for Susan and all the great things going on in the Student Success Center?
Thanks, everyone. I'll put that link in for the Hope Center.
All right, thank you, Susan. We appreciate it.
Sure.
So we'll go ahead now and move on to, I think we've got Brenda Burgess coming up next. Brenda?
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you, first of all, for all of those that voted for me, thinking that Motown was my favorite music choice. My family tells me that I have a very eclectic music style. And if there's ever a question up there about who is the worst of the worst dancers or having no rhythm, hey, remember me, I'm that person. I just want to share with you a couple of updates. First and foremost, the HERF2 updated guidance. There was some information that came out from the Department of Education around the 19th of March that provided some clarification. First clarification that it provided was that HERF grants could be used for to cover those institutional coronavirus related costs and student expenses dating back to March 13th of 2020. Second clarification it provided some guidance and or clarification on the fact that qualified aliens are eligible for HERF emergency grants. Now, this does not expand eligibility to those individuals, but it does clarify what a qualified or who qualifies as who's considered a qualified alien. And there has not been any additional guidance on those DACA students or undocumented. The department is currently still working on guidance there. The third thing that was addressed is it addresses the lost revenues to allow those unspent CARES, your first round of money, the CRRSA and or HERF 2, and the upcoming HERF 3, which is known as the American Rescue Plan, when it is released, that it can be used to cover those costs that incurred since March 13 of 2020. So it goes back to 2020. Next thing that I just want to bring to your attention is Golden Leaf and some of our other community college scholarship programs. We are entering or quickly approaching time to report our expenditures for those particular programs. So I just want to put a gentle reminder out to you all that you can begin those conversations with your financial aid offices, and especially for those schools that have signed up to participate in the Golden Leaf program and or your allocations for targeted assistance less than half-time monies, just to see where you are with awarding those funds to our students. For Golden Leaf particularly, we are currently in the application stage for 21-22. And Golden Leaf is starting to have those conversations with us, wanting to know where we are with spending monies that they have granted to us. So just kind of begin those conversations with your offices to make sure that, you know, we are spending the funds that have been allotted to us. Again, reporting deadlines are quickly approaching. And there's one last thing that I did not include as an update, but I do want to bring it to your attention. The Financial Aid Leadership Academy. As with all of our academies within student services, it is part of the community college system plan that we are able to provide training to designated financial aid administrators who may be interested in assuming leadership roles or position within your campus as a financial aid director if a vacancy occurs. So last year's academy was postponed. This one is scheduled to begin soon. If you are, and I'm putting out a personal plea, if you are aware of any upcoming financial aid retirements, departures, office restructuring, or other changes you may have going on, please look around and consider those individuals on your campus that may be interested in the Leadership Academy. It is indeed not a free academy. We wish that it would be or could be, but the cost does encompass so much, including a nice location, meals, materials. So I'm just going to let you know that I will be sending out an announcement soon. And again, put it in your mind and look for those individuals that may be interested in the Financial Aid Leadership Academy. That one last thing, going back to HERF, if you have any questions regarding that, of course, herf.ed.gov, or either call their number. Their direct number is 202-377-3711. And for more information on that updated guidance, for our financial aid directors or individuals that may be on the call, they are familiar with IFAP. IFAP is no longer. It will now direct you to FSA Partner Connect, and you can find those updates and or more detailed information about the updated HERF 2 guidance. That's all I have, Dr. Kelly.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And Could you type that email address in the chat box?
I
That way,
certainly will.
for people that maybe didn't hear quickly enough or able to write fast enough. They've
Yes,
got it.
sir, I will. I'll do that.
Thank you. Do you guys out there have any questions for Brenda about student aid, especially any of the things that she covered on her slide?
Brenda, this is Andrea Simpson. I do have a quick question about what you were just talking about, the FSA Connect. And it's harder for me because obviously any of us in financial aid that have a token and we have that ability to log into that, we go with our own information. But I had a situation yesterday where somebody was trying to get in there to pull the SAR codes, and they weren't able to do that. Can you speak to how somebody will work that if they don't have a token and don't have an FSA ID?
Okay, Andrea, for that particular piece, I don't have access to any of the Title IV administrative pieces anymore. They would be mainly your financial aid folks because they can access the SAG mailbox, COD, those type things. But if you are non-financial aid, but you're interested in the information, you can go out there and sign up for a login that allows you access to some of the trainings, but you can always get those IFAP announcements. They're just going to be over on in a different area now. They do have like a little brief training that's available, but if you click on, if you go to IFAP, it's going to direct you to FSA Partner Connect. Over on that right side, you'll see something that says View Knowledge Center, and that's what takes you to those non-financial aid specific areas that don't require a token. And I know I said a mouthful, but I hope that it was helpful.
I had printed, I've saved the documents down and just forwarded those on, but I thought if other folks were interested, they might feel like they couldn't get access to it. So that's good information to be able to pass along. I appreciate that.
Okay, and what I'll also do is I'll send that out to the financial aid community, and they can disseminate it to just pass it along to other individuals that may be interested that are non-financial aid folk. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome.
All right, that was a great question, and thank you, Brenda, for having the answer ready. Any other questions? Okay, then we'll go ahead and move on to JJ Evans. JJ, what you got for us today?
Good afternoon again. I'd just like to give a quick update. We are excited about our upcoming partnership as we work with the Center for Creative Leadership for our Student Life Leadership Program for this summer. And applications will be due on April, I believe it is Friday, April 30th. And we are accepting an unlimited number of nominations per institution. Because we are in a virtual space, we have the ability to have a larger class than we have in the past. One thing I would like to note, we've received a number of questions regarding when the leadership class is going to be. We've worked with the Center of Creative Leadership to narrow down the course to Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Every Wednesday during the summer, except for the week of July the 4th. And so if you have any additional questions, please feel free to email them to me. Feel free to begin emailing or mailing applications should you have students you wish to nominate.
All right, thank you, JJ. Any questions for JJ about student life? Anything going on in his area that you have any questions about? Okay, well, thank you, JJ. I appreciate that. Thank you for leading that student development leadership program. We appreciate it, and we'll go ahead and move to Monty Hickman. Monty, what do you have for us today?
I am here. I want to thank everyone, first of all, for attending the last Strategic Enrollment Management Professional Development Series that we had that was led by Paula Dibley. I think she provided some good information, and I will try to have that recording to you shortly. As you know, you should have gotten an email this week and last week with the next two professional series coming up. And those are going to be the community colleges as conveners. That is going to be led by Craig Lamb at Rowan Cabarrus Community College. And the next one, which is going to be on April the 22nd, is going to be utilizing your data for enrollment management planning and decision making. That is going to be a session led by Ashley Seaman and her guest on that call. So we're going to do that and also move forward for the rest of the year with more professional development and enrollment management. They're going to be how does the image of your institution connect to enrollment management? Effectively utilizing financial aid and foundation funds for resources for enrollment management strategies and goals, and also things like the difference between state, federal, and local policies and procedures and how they impact enrollment management. So we're going to have those, and I will send out those as we receive presenters for those and put them on the calendar. In addition to the professional development, the Strategic Enrollment Management Task Force is also acting in a consultant capacity. And so if your college wants to have a conversation around enrollment management, specifically to your college, and as it relates to your strategic enrollment management plans, please let me know. The purpose of this is not to say the system office is requiring you to do this and that, or we're not holding you accountable for anything, but we know that many colleges either may not have a comprehensive enrollment management plan, or may want to update theirs, or just go through it and see what may be missing. And so this is a conversation between you and the task force to just work through a couple things and identify some strategies and some goals for your institution. Again, I want to reiterate that this is nothing to be held accountable for. It's just us giving you feedback and us having a discussion. So though that is going to happen. So I would say if you are interested in that, to please send me an email and we will get that going.
All right, thank you, Monty. Any questions for Monty about enrollment management, admissions, or registration and records, or anything like that? Okay, not hearing any and not seeing any in the chat box. I do want to mention, though, if there are any enrollment management type of webinars or trainings or presentations or topics that you are interested in, I know Monty is definitely open to coordinating and facilitating those kind of workshops. And I think we have a good peer review team that can help you have a conversation about your enrollment management plan. And so the idea is that the more heads and eyes that you have, sometimes from the external view, can help you review your enrollment management plan in such a way that you might find some areas of improvement. So we want to be able to help you have that conversation and review. So thank you, Monty. I appreciate it.
It's all about perspective.
Yep. Thank you. So we'll go ahead now and move on. I think Trudy Hughes is next with Disability Services in Title IX.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just wanted to quickly update everybody on the mental health first aid. We have already successfully completed 16 people in the March 24th training, and they will be able to then provide training to keep their certification. They need to provide 3 trainings a year, and those trainings can involve students or staff or whoever they want at the community colleges, and they'll the organization Mental Health First Aid will help coordinate that with them. We have filled the April slot as well, and that training will be from April 19th through the 21st. We still are working on the June slots. We have a couple slots still available. But I have reached out to many people across the state. What we want to do is have equity across the state, and we have a few colleges that have wanted several people from their own college to participate in the trainings, but we're trying to get it spread evenly across the state as much as possible. So with the June date, that will close out on May 26th for registration, and then we will have a roster, and then people will be notified then of whether or not they're accepted for that final training. But we're really excited about this. The interest has been immense, so immense that more colleges really want this to continue and to have more opportunities for this training. So we will also then follow up once the training has occurred in July. We'll follow up with all the participants, all the trainers, and find out what are their training plans. How are they going to fulfill at least 3 trainings that they will provide at their colleges? What will it look like? When will it happen? Because we want to ensure that all of this effort will be carried through, and we'll be successful in spreading the word about mental health first aid across the campuses. Another thing is the Disability in a Week conference, and we're in the planning stages of that. The dates are June 7th through 11th. We will have a representative, Jacob Griffin from OCR will present on June 7th, and we're working out the details on exactly what he will be presenting on. We did send out a save the date flyer. I will send out another registration with the links once we have the agenda set, but the sessions will be the 7th through 11th, and we're keeping it short because, you know, everybody's on their computers these days, and after a while we get computer fatigued. So we decided that we were only going to have it 1 hour a day for 5 days, from Monday through Friday, just 1 hour with a special speaker. We're also looking at speakers from NC State and UNC Chapel Hill to present on specific areas of disabilities, and also looking at the COVID and how that affects people with disabilities and the long haulers, what we call them, on how that really has affected people in the long run. So we will send out more information as we get closer to that date. And then for Title IX, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and Juliet Grimmett from the Chrysalis Network will be presenting, and we did establish a date. She will be presenting on April 26th. She will be sending me a title and her presentation, hopefully in the very near future, as I requested, and then I'll be sending out the links for that for our Title IX folks. And then Josh Whitlock, the attorney from Jackson Lewis, he will also hold a question and answer webinar in May. Again, date to be determined, but that's an opportunity for our Title IX people to just pose some questions, because we do know that the Biden administration will be probably making some major changes from the Trump administration's laws for Title IX. So keep looking, and we will send that information out as soon as possible. So thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Trudy. We appreciate that update. Any questions for Trudy on disability services and Title IX, either in the chat box, or please feel free to unmute. All right, Trudy, thank you. I appreciate it. One thing I will add to Trudy's update, and that is in reference to the mental health first aid. We've been working closely with Workforce Continuing Education to add a course in that academic level for mental health first aid. So that way the courses can be delivered to your communities, maybe in business and industry, maybe also in your school systems, and be able to charge, right, as a CE course. And so that will be an opportunity that will be available to the colleges in the very near future. I think that we're on target to take that new mental health first aid CE course to the State Board of Community Colleges for the month of April. So that means it would become available hopefully pretty quickly. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew about that as well. So thank you, Trudy. I appreciate that. And I believe next we have on our list is Jennifer.
Good afternoon, everyone. I do have just a couple of quick announcements. The NC Career Coach Symposium, our second annual symposium, will be held April 26th, virtual, of course, from 1 to 4. This has already been sent out to career coach programs, but I just wanted to provide this as a reminder. I also wanted to let everyone know that information on the new cohort for Career Coach will be provided in early fall. So if you would, please look for an update at that time. And also the Advising Leadership Academy application will open in late May. I really look forward to our second class. They're going to benefit from mentorship from the first cohort. So I'm excited to begin that process again. If you have any questions about either of those opportunities, please reach out to me through email, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Any questions for Jennifer about career coaches or the advising work that they're doing with the Advising Association and that partnership as well? I'm not hearing any questions. We'll go ahead and move on. This next section is about me, and I really only have one update, and that's with the Student Assistance Program, just to make sure that everybody knows that the statewide contract with McLaughlin Young will end on July 31st. You do have the option to have a local contract from your college with them to continue the program if that's something that you and your college wants to pursue. McLaughlin Young, and I'm very grateful that they're doing this, they have decided to keep the same pricing as if all 58 colleges, all 700,000 students were involved, regardless of the number of colleges that opt in and do an individual contract with them. So I'm very grateful that they're being generous in that way to keep the pricing at a system level for each of the colleges. So I just want to make sure everybody knew that that contract was ending and that they need, if you want to contact them, it should be in my, I should have already put it in my emails to you guys of how to contact them if that's something you want to pursue. So any general questions for our team before we bring things to a close? Okay, not hearing any questions or seeing any in the chat box. The last thing that I will mention is that next month, the month of May, we will not have a student development administrators update, but we will have the entire update with Dr. Gold's division here at the system office. So that's kind of her quarterly update where everybody comes together and receive an update from all of her AVPs. And so that is on May 18th at 3 o'clock. The next time that we'll come together will be in June, and you can see that there on the list. Also, always like to try to list our contact information for your student services team at the system office. Email is the best way to contact each of us because we are still teleworking. And so we do have, I'll make this announcement, we are talking about a phased-in approach to the system office team of moving back into the building. Those details are not published yet, but that is work coming to fruition probably over the next couple of months, that we will start being back in the agency building and not teleworking. In the meantime, though, email is the best way to get a hold of us. So without further ado, we'll check one more time to see if there's any questions in the chat box. I'm not seeing any. And one last chance to unmute and ask any questions if you have any questions for us today.
JW.
Yes, sir.
Sabrina Terry said, don't forget about the SDAA virtual water cooler discussion this Friday.
Thank you. Thank you. Sabrina, if you're able to unmute, go ahead and make that announcement for us.
So I sent out a reminder this morning, and if you are interested in participating in the SDAA monthly water cooler discussion. I already sent out the calendar invite, and I also included a survey link for you to add any topics or discussion areas, but it's really an informal way for us to be able to just share ideas with each other. So you don't have to fill out the survey to attend. We just, if there are any particular areas that you'd like us to discuss, we have some things that we can kind of start the conversation with. But we always, most of us are talkers, so we always find plenty to talk about. Also, I did want to mention that the SDAA and the Chief Academic Officer groups are planning a face-to-face, our joint conference that we have usually every spring. We are looking at doing that in the fall at Guilford Tech, and the dates are in September, but I don't have those dates with me. If somebody else is on the call from SDAA.
The 27th and the 28th.
Of September, correct?
Yep.
Yep. So we'll be sending out a save the date along with registration information soon. But we do plan to have that conference face to face. We're all crossing our fingers and toes that we may be able to do that. So just hope to see you all at the water cooler discussion and at the joint conference in September.
Thank you, Sabrina, and thank you so much to all the leadership of the SDAA for your work on the joint conference and keeping the water cooler conversation going and some of that other activity. And I just want to give a shout out to the whole leadership. It's not easy to keep things going at your school during a pandemic, but then to also keep things going in your association. So you guys have done a good job. Thank you. I think that's a great service to the entire student services community. So I'm seeing several different things in the chat box here. And I think to go along with what Sabrina was talking about is there's links to the Student Development Administrators website and also to their conference page, which can give you some good information. And Sabrina also put the link there in the chat box for the water cooler for tomorrow. So thank you guys for doing that. And we'll pause one last time to see if there's any other questions. Okay, friends, well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for everything that you do to serve your students. We will do our best to continue to serve you. Please stay safe and please stay healthy. You guys have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.